You know what I love about the chin is that the chin is a mini little box. It's got a front plane, it's got some side planes here and here. It also has a little top plane right there. It's like a little box. Now, of course, it's not a perfect box, just like the head is not a perfect box. It's angled to some degree, and of course we'll dig into that in the forthcoming lesson. But simple planes, it's just this little box-like shape. It connects with the rhythm of the jaw. You can see that as the jaw came in here, it kind of terminates in here. Well, the chin picks up there, right where the jaw leaves off. If the jaw faced this way, the side plane of the chin kind of tilts just a little bit more, and then big plane change for the front. Then a little bit of a plane change there, and then another plane change for the jaw. So the chin is responsible for, taking that mandible all the way across, and it does so in this very graphic, planar way. It's a very sculptural way. And the chin is, there are a few planes in here also that will later link up with the mouth. So pay careful attention to when I start talking about the top plane of the chin. There's some important rhythms there that will be very important later as they connect. Of course, all these features connect. So let's dig in and take a look at the chin. So just to quickly recap, we can see that our jaw plane comprises that side plane of the chin. This area right in here, or on the Asaro head right in here, this would be what I would consider the side planes of the chin. And because they kind of connect with that side plane of the jaw, we're already kind of a third of the way there. We've even indirectly kind of looked at the front plane of the chin. Remember going all the way back to the cheekbones, we had this kind of rhythm, and I was just kind of dropping my lines off this way. Well, when I drop my lines off that way, I am encompassing that front plane of the chin. Remember, the head is connected rhythmically, and there is this kind of graceful tapering action, almost like the front planes of the head form a giant kind of funnel, moving things down this way, and the chin just being the lowest end of that funnel. Couple of important anatomical things about the chin. Remember that the mandible is subcutaneous along its bottom edge. That includes the chin. The chin is subcutaneous right there, not here. It's subcutaneous there. That's part one. Also, part two, there is a protuberance action happening here. It's not flat. The chin is not flat like this. It comes out like this. The fancy anatomy term for that is the mental protuberance. We can see it even more if you look at the Loomis diagram. If I were to draw the skull underneath this diagram, it would look something like this. Buried under the flesh here, but building up to that subcutaneous part here. And once we lay the lips on top of this, which we'll do in a moment in the next section probably, what we get is this very noticeable arcing action before we build back up to that protruding mound of the chin. That mound is visible on the skull too. You'll notice it dips down a little bit before building up and then building back down. So we do have a few planes here. Not only do we have this front plane of the chin, which is here, draw this in black, but then we also have this little plane right there. This plane here is going to be part of the lips section, so I'm going to leave this alone. But we do have this front plane and this top plane of the chin. And you can see that on our Asaro head right here. We have the front plane, this is the part that's subcutaneous, and then we have this top plane of the chin. In this structural diagram of the head, we can see that top plane of the chin looking something like this, and we can see the front plane of the chin looking something like that. The exact angle of these lines, again, is something that can change from individual to individual. It's rarely parallel, though. The Asaro head gives you this kind of outward motion. This diagram gives you the reverse, kind of an inward motion. As long as it's roughly conforming to a box, you're in the right position. The thing I wanted to show you here, though, is, of course, we have the top and front of the chin. But how about this side? There is a bit of complexity that happens right in here. Specifically, that top plane kind of peters out and sort of diminishes as the chin, progresses to the side. And on this side, it would be like this. And the side plane, kind of takes over, and continues up into the jaw like we've already seen. Rhythmically, though, this top plane has this curve to it. You can see the same thing in the Asaro head. See this curve? The funny trick I use to remember this is like the mouth is a smiley face and the chin is a sad face. That's something that never fails me whenever I'm checking my rhythms on the head. Let's look back at this dude here. Very obvious, right? It's got this sad face rhythm to it, this downward sloping curve. Also very clear to see top plane, front plane, and then, the side planes kind of take over here. It's always important to draw these cross contours showing the direction of the chin. And yes, the chin does turn under here. We're going to talk about the underside, this whole area, in a different section. Right now, I'm totally concerned with the front, the top, and then the side planes. Bringing back our Angelina picture, we can see, I think, pretty clearly this sort of what I'm calling the sad face rhythm right there. We can also pretty clearly see, thanks to the lighting, this top plane right here. And I'm seeing this sort of rhythm like this to the front plane of her chin. Also, thanks to the lighting right in here, you can see how that plane tapers out like this. And then like we did with the jaw, this would just continue up, forming the side plane. There can be a little bit of extra information to put into the side of the jaw plane. From this point of the chin, it's not necessarily straight back to the hinge of the jaw. There is a bit of an intermediary step, this line, and then that breaks in direction to arrive at, what we've already talked about, where the jaw breaks severely in direction and goes up. So this side of the chin plane here is a very minor direction change branching out from the jaw. So again, the jaw comes this way, slight change of direction that way, and then it's pretty much a straight line or a slightly curved line as we hit the front of the chin. The chin is very box-like, so I have the the top plane, the front plane, and we get that slight tapering here. Of course, this is in 3/4 view, so I'm adjusting for foreshortening here. And then we have this sad face rhythm here. And we get our side plane, and then the jaw, slight change in direction. Look at this angle. Look at that angle. Slight change in direction as we go from the chin to the jaw. And then that jaw extends back to where it breaks in direction and goes up. And we've already looked at that angle in the previous section. Always helpful to add these cross contours to reinforce your understanding of the form. If I wanted to throw a slight value on this, I could make the top plane of the chin a bit lighter, just to enforce the fact that it points upwards, maybe even a slight value to the front plane of the chin to reinforce the fact that it points forwards. And just for consistency, here's some arrows. This plane points forward, this plane points upward at a kind of diagonal. Almost actually the same kind of upward trajectory as our cheekbones. If we put in some cheekbone planes here very quickly, this part of the cheekbone here had an almost parallel direction as the top plane of the chin. Here we can see that pretty clearly. That chin points up here. The cheekbones also point up, almost parallel. I mean, maybe it could literally be parallel, depending on your model. I'm sure this changes a lot. As long as they're both roughly pointing in the same direction, we're okay. One last example before we move on. Slightly more dramatic angle on the head, looking up. Very prominent sad face rhythm. Let's draw this over here as we go. I can start with that. Often I find it helpful to start with that sad face rhythm, especially when we start connecting the lips to the chin, which we'll do later on. Then let's look at the top plane of the chin, which is here. You notice that this line is not quite the same sad face rhythm. In fact, that line can be quite straight. But it's not this, it's lower, right? Because we have to, we'll have side planes later on that we have to figure out. Let's look at the front plane of the chin. We have this, and on him I'm seeing the lines kind of like that. Kind of outward bowing action like that. The front plane of the chin is a little bit larger than the top plane. In fact, I might bring this top just a bit in to emphasize that. And then the subcutaneous part, the bottom of the chin, where the mandible is on the surface. Then we have these sneaky little side planes of the chin that later on we'll see they're very soft edged kind of things, but they are there. We'll get them into our drawing. They kind of just peter out. They're kind of wimps. These side planes are kind of wimps. The side of the top plane, I should say. It's kind of these wimpy little planes here as they, merge into the side of the head. And we can connect our side planes like this. And then if this jaw went back, we could, it's going in this direction. Just to put some cross contours on it, to make sure we understand the directions. Side plane, top plane, side plane, top plane. Maybe throw the sides into shadow. Perhaps throw the top plane into just a little bit of light. And that's really all there is to the chin. I'm not going to fill up a page of drawings. I think this is pretty straightforward, and we'll keep momentum and move straight on to the next piece.